Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wa bihi nasta'in wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. A very good evening to everyone joining us today, both here and online. My name is Mr. Wan Arman Ahmad from Alumni Relations and Career Services Unit of INCEIF. And it's my great pleasure to be your MC for today for this session. Let's begin with recitation of dua. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. O Allah, grant us wisdom and join me with the righteous. Bless us with honorable mention among later generations. Make us one of those awarded the garden of bliss. O Allah, we ask you for beneficial knowledge, good provision, and acceptable deeds. O Allah, grant us benefit in what you have taught us, and teach us useful knowledge, and provide us with knowledge that will benefit us. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة في الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Welcome everyone to intellectual discourse at INCEIF on the future of Islamic capital market, trends, challenges, and opportunities. This evening is particularly special as we are, for this time, featuring an all alumni panelists from Moderator and our two speakers. So we have a great pleasure to reconnect our alumni and with students, and we hope this session will be a fruitful discussion for all of us, inshallah. Today, inshallah, we have a unique opportunity to delve into the key trends, challenges, and immense opportunities that lie ahead, all guided by the insights of INCEIF alumni, inshallah. So to lead us through this insightful discussion, it is my honor to introduce a prominent, inshallah, prominent figure in the industry and our alumnus, the Deputy CEO of ISRA International Consultancy, Mr. Rizaidy Mamat. Before that, let me introduce Mr. Rizaidy first. Mr. Rizaidy brings experience in capital market and Islamic finance. His expertise spans various roles, including positions in regulation, stock exchanges, and international banks, with a particular focus on Islamic capital market development, Islamic product and services, Sharia governance, and Islamic hedging solution. He is also a member of the Sharia Sumitumi Bank Corporation in Berhad. Currently, he also serves as a capital market expert in regulatory supervision at the Brunei Darussalam Central Bank. He has held since 2017. His previous roles include head of Sharia audit and group internal audit of Hong Leong Islamic Bank Berhad, as well as head of business development strategy at same institution. He has also contributed to stock exchange Tadawul as a cash market advisor and led the Islamic capital markets division at Bursa. David's experience spans over two decades, during which he has held significant positions at various financial institutions, committees, Force and Finance by Islamic Financial Services (ISB), and also Securities Commission Malaysia, Securities Commission Malaysia. Rizaidy holds a master's in Islamic finance practices from INCEIF, and degree from IIUM, and he also an associate member of Association of Sharia Advisors in Finance (ASAS) and a member of Corporate Directors Malaysia (SCDM). So please join me in giving a warm welcome to our moderator, Mr. Rizaidy, and he will introduce our speakers today, inshallah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, my good friend, my colleague, or I would rather use my old unimate from International Islamic University Malaysia 20 odd years ago, Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Today we are here at INCEIF. Thank you for a long description of mine. I'm just an ordinary person in ISRA Consulting. I'm here today to introduce you to another two panels. One that I've just met in the middle, I just met recently, but also a co-figurehead in Islamic capital market in Malaysia. And the far right is actually also my colleague from Securities Commission Malaysia a long time ago. And I think we hope to begin with, let me introduce you to Mr. Yang Mulia Raja Shahrul Azrain in the middle. He is the Executive Director or CEO of Kenanga Islamic Investor Berhad, appointed as CEO at KIB September 2024. And now he also Executive Director of KIIB. Prior to joining KIB, Raja Shahrul is the SRM, Senior Relationship Manager for the Kenanga Investor Berhad. He spent close to a decade at Hon Leong Asset Management Berhad. It seems that we come across so. I used to be at Hon Leong before I went for my Brunei job. So more or less we are from alumnus from various places. He has more than 15 years in asset management experience, sales and marketing, institutional, corporates, and high net worth individual. He began his career in Affin Investment Bank, worked in corporate finance and execution side, 3 years in investment banking, but later he joined Huang DVS Investment Management Berhad as a client portfolio manager. I think you can also find more information about Yang Mulia Raja Shahrul from his company website, i.e. the Kenanga Islamic Investor Berhad. Raja Shahrul also graduated from Bachelor of Arts Business Admin from London South Bank University of England, United Kingdom. As mentioned by our chairperson just now, he holds a Master of Islamic Finance Practice from our beloved university, INCEIF University. And the next person that I wish to introduce is actually Mr. Kemal. Mr. Kemal is also another alumnus. He is also formerly did his Chartered Islamic Finance Professional Master degree from INCEIF University. Mr. Kemal is a veteran in the financial world, bringing over 30 years of global experience. As I mentioned, he used to be my colleague in SC last time. Now he is attached to as expert advisor to the Financial Services Authority of Oman, Sultanate of Oman. He has been driving regulatory developmental initiative for the capital market and Islamic finance for the last 12 years in Oman. He holds prestigious position in also as a board member of the Malaysian Capital Market Regulators, i.e. Securities Commission Malaysia, has been appointed by the Prime Minister of Malaysia. He holds distinguished first non-resident board member base globally. And I think apart from that, I think I would need to also say that Mr. Kemal is also appointed by the Minister of Finance Oman for the Government Sukuk Committee, where he advised on and managed historical issuance of the first Oman sovereign sukuk in 2015, then which went on to the winning the Deal of the Year award by IFN in 2015. He also successfully led the development of crowdfunding fintech industry in Oman, establishing the first global Islamic crowdfunding platform in GCC. He also the project manager for the Virtual Asset Committee, leading to the establishment of the comprehensive regulatory framework of the digital asset industry in Oman. At the moment, he's also the president and grand council board member of the Chartered Institute of Islamic Finance Professionals, CIF, associate of INCEIF. Not to forget to mention, he also the professor of practice of INCEIF University for our capital market sector. I think, please, ladies and gentlemen, please do welcome these two distinguished guests for our forum this afternoon, inshallah. Okay, I think, thank you. We have our session today. We have physical, and I was informed we also have online participants. We heard that from the physical, we're expecting about the numbers that you can see here. And from online, we were informed there's about 100 plus people that attending. I think and from the physical appearance, I can see a few of my former friends, colleagues, and also professionals. So many academicians, students, market practice. And we hope that these 2 hours, not even 2 hours, I think we left until 5. 5:30. So it's about 1.5 hours plus to discuss, and we hope this discussion will be valuable. We want to, in Malay term, we have like short sendiri. We don't want to be short sendiri. I think 3 of us can speak until tomorrow. We have spoken in the waiting room just now, non-ending discussion or whatnot with regard to capital market. But I hope this evening, an opportunity for everyone, physical or also hybrid, virtually, for you also to engage with us, the moderators, the speakers especially, to ask questions. Because the topic that we are going to speak today is actually our trend, challenges, and opportunities. To begin with, let me begin the discussion of the trends and challenges and opportunities. We have seen that Malaysian Islamic capital market has started, I think, more or less in 1990, when Shell MDS has issued the first sukuk in Malaysia. And later part of the day, we know that in 1993, Securities Commission Malaysia was established. Then 1994, more or less, BIMB Securities has been set up and become the first Islamic, full-fledged Islamic stockbroking. Until today, they are the only one, I believe, they remain the only one full-fledged Islamic stockbroking. There are a few more. Windows Islamic stockbroking has been established. I think by now, we have more than 7. And we are glad to announce also one of our customers, that is ISRA Consulting customers, UBS Securities, a foreign stockbroker, has opened up their window also of Islamic stockbroking. So when we talk about Islamic capital market, okay, to start the discussion, I think normally, globally, or even from our crowd today, people would come into the picture is first the sukuk part. I think sukuk is the most sexy, the most Sharia compliant word that I can use, is the sexy instrument in Islamic capital market that always been thought about. But I think those people like us together in the room, the panel or whatnot, Islamic capital market goes beyond sukuk. Sukuk is one, but we also still have, that's why we have Yang Mulia Raja also today, Raja Shahrul, from the equity side, the investment side or whatnot. I think people forgotten also about the equity market. The Sharia compliant equity market, Malaysia always champion it for the past years. We begin with 80% when we don't have the financial screening. After financial screening, we have more than 60% of Islamic Sharia compliant equities in the market. Then apart from the equities, we also have I can say, the most controversial product in Islamic capital market that only Malaysia approve as Sharia compliant, that is the Islamic derivatives. I think the only market in the world that put Islamic or derivatives as Sharia compliant at the moment, I can say, is only Malaysia. When we start approving the CPO and also the index as the constituent for the future product in Bursa Malaysia, listed derivative product. Apart from the listed derivative product, we do have other structured product, non-listed product like the cross-currency swap. We have the inter-currency swap, whatnot, Islamic profit rate swap. It's not really a capital market product, but more or less because it's a derivatives, it's been used by Islamic bank or whatnot. So basically, to put the ground framework, Islamic capital market goes beyond sukuk. So I think the first question let's look at what's next, or what the trend, before we go what's next, we look at what the trend of the market at the moment. We see that for Malaysia again, after we introduce the Sharia compliant stocks, we have the sukuk or whatnot, we have the mutual fund unit trust in Malaysian market. Now we are seeing that the Securities Commission Malaysia are doing something like promoting the maqasid of Sharia in Islamic capital market. So I don't want whatever I said is actually to be the piloting or controlling the decision or the opinion of my panel. So to begin with, let's hear from the industry first. What are the trend of the market? Because why I allow the industry first before the regulators? Because if I allow the regulators speak first, industry won't speak. That's common. Okay, so let hear from the market player itself. What are the trend of the capital market, Islamic capital market per se? Please, Raja Shahrul, the floor is yours. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rizaidy. I have to admit, your voice is really, really loud. So I have to project my voice as loud as yours, hopefully. This is actually the first time I'm here at this INCEIF campus. So a little bit of background. The last time I was at INCEIF, I think was 2019, 2020. That was at the PJ site, which had this KFC. I remember very specifically. So yeah, so we always park our car there and we always kena saman lah because we cannot park inside. So I suppose this side of the room, there's a semua dah bayar saman lah. I suppose so everybody used to pay their fines there. But thank you very much, of course, to INCEIF, and good to meet Encik Kemal as well. So we want to talk about trends today. What exactly are the trends in Islamic capital market that we've actually seen? I'm obviously representing fund management company. So we look at it from that angle, that point of view, investments per se. What are the plain vanilla type of products that we have now, which are Sharia compliant? That would be the equity, that would be the sukuk, that would be the money market, very plain vanilla. And you know, those are the traditional bits about it. But what are the non-traditional assets, or what are the non-traditional investments that we can look forward to maybe, adopt? We've got tokenization, we've got cryptocurrency, we have, what's the other one? I can't remember. We've got structured products that involves derivatives as well, options as well. And then we are also looking towards other stuff in terms of e-payment, e-wallet. Can that be Sharia compliant? Takaful to what extent? Legacy investment, which also engulfs wakaf and endowment, right? So that's a very interesting bit actually I want to talk about very quickly. Even the legacy investment, for example, is very, very big when you think about it in Europe, in global markets, in conventional market. We've always seen it there, especially with our neighboring countries. But here's a question: how come it's not very, very strong? How come it's not very big when it comes to Islamic countries? How come it's not? How come it's not something that we think about automatically? When we do investments, for example, we think about capital appreciation, we think about making some money, we think about profit, right? But how come within our investment bit, how come we don't think about donating our profits towards something? Can't we make money from something, and can we use that profit to make continuous donations, which is of course wakaf? So you would think that something like this would be something quite common that would exist in most Islamic countries, inclusive of even if it's not fully Islamic. But it doesn't actually. What exists more within our capital markets is, of course, we've got the equity investment, sukuk investment. Takaful is very, very big, huge market, of course. But even within the takaful products, you have investment-linked products, which means that you put money into your takaful every year, and at the same time, they'll grow your money through savings. So the question is, how come there's no philanthropy? How come there's no sadaqah bit when it comes to that investment? How come we just stop short out of everything? Because what I'm trying to say is that when we look at Islamic capital markets, sooner or later, we would need to find our own image and our own face. You know what I mean? We need to look and breathe and produce as if we are Islamic markets. So Islamic markets, for me, a very good entry point that I feel that most people can look at is socioeconomics. That's the bit that we're all talking about now, actually. Socioeconomics, social financing. No longer about I'm going to make 20% return, 10% return. Now it's about how can I make a constant 5% return, 6% return on my money, and I'm giving out an ROI, I'm giving out a profit of 2% to something I believe in. I actually fundamentally believe that Islamic market, Islamic finance market, if we concentrate on this, then the products will come. So I feel like you need the fundamentals first. What are we going for? How can we find an image? Because currently right now, I think if I'm just going to base it on Malaysia and our domestic market, we're pretty much still neck and neck with conventional. But we shouldn't see conventional market as something where that we want to be the opposite of all the time. Because we've existed in the conventional market for the longest of time within Malaysia. We've been going through the conventional market, and then Islamic markets came on board. So when people look at us from a point of view, they will say, I tell you what you're doing. You're converting conventional to Islamic. It's a very common thing that people always say. And then, of course, we have to go, well, no, we have to re-explain it. It's not really like that. Actually, it came before, and so on and so forth. But why is it that people have that perception? It's because they only saw that first before they saw you. It's like if you went to see a movie about robots first, right? And somebody else comes up with a movie robot. I say, well, you're just copying that guy because that guy made the movie first. So this is why I feel that we've been trying to either replicate or better ourselves than the conventional market. But we should not see it that way. Look at the conventional market and look at it from another angle. Is there any social investment? Is there any social financing in the conventional market that we can look at and maybe perhaps look back at our own processes, our own structure, and say, you know what, we can trump that any day. We can be better than that any day, because this part of it doesn't really mind anything to do about, extra profits, extra returns, ROI returns. If you want to build something on philanthropy, will you get your monies back? Or if you don't get your money back? So it's actually those questions that actually we have to ask, okay? So before I veer away from the trend of what's going on, the latest one I remember I was thinking about, or we was talking about with somebody, was cryptocurrency. Can we donate our cryptocurrency? Can we pay zakat with cryptocurrency? Can we do all of these things? The reason is not trying to become trendy. The reason is that we're providing more liquidity in what we're doing. We want to give people the opportunity to look at different types of asset, invest in it, Sharia compliant, and either donate it or pay your zakat or wakaf it. That's what we want to do. And it should not just be just for Muslims. It should be for everybody. Everybody should have the opportunity to do something like that. If it's Sharia compliant, okay, fine, it's Sharia compliant. That would mean that in general, our processes is clear, our universal screening is good, and everybody can adopt it. So that's an interesting trend that I see coming up recently. Yeah. So maybe, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for opening remark. And thank you for reminding that my voice is very loud and strong. I should have not used the microphone actually, or I should put a bit further. Okay, I remember because when I was in Brunei, people are all soft-spoken. When I speak, it's like I'm the one shouting in the room. Sorry about that. Sorry for those who's listening online or whatnot. Thank you, Yang Mulia Raja Shahrul. Shahrul, I think if I could call you. Okay, I think it's good that we hear about the philanthropies, the social bit of investment or whatnot. Yeah, this is a thing that I think, in fact, actually Islamic, we have started first. Because when we start doing negative screening whatsoever, we are already looking at E part of it, and also must be the G part of it. And also included the S part. The only thing is that when we start moving into looking into UNDP goal, sustainable development goal or whatnot, we try to put it in line together. Okay, let's hear from the regulator's view. What was the trend? Maybe he can share the Malaysian aspect of it, because he also member of the Malaysian Securities Commission board members, the commissioners, and at the same time advisor to the Oman. But maybe also the trend in the Gulf market, what happening on that side, apart from the Malaysian side also. Please, Brother Kemal.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Actually, as a regulator, I'm not too articulative as the two gentlemen on my left again. What I say is direct, one word, and they need to follow. So as a regulator, so that's why I don't talk too much. But first of all, thank you again for INCEIF inviting me here. I'm still based in Oman, but I do make some occasional trips here. I happen to be here just for the weekend, going back to Oman tomorrow. But I've not been in my 30 years, not just on a regulating side, but half of those years have been also on the private side, on corporate investment banking. Similar with one Rizaidy, Raja Shahrul. So that's where I bring some of those aspects into the regulating, and of course the mandate for the SC is both regulating and developing the market. Both both conventional and Islamic capital market here at the SC Malaysia. But likewise also in Oman, I'm currently working with the FSA, the Financial Services Authority. We have a wider scope, which is both capital market and insurance including takaful. So it's the opposite as what it's here as compared to Bank Negara, right? With the central bank. So the insurance takaful market resides with the FSA. And so we are developing both capital market and also the takaful sector there. Now, of course, looking at the trend, I think Shahrul has mentioned, I think you miss out that I think Malaysia has also an advantage where the other one which we have actually introduced is we have in a way, acknowledged or come up with a fatwa for Islamic digital assets, right? And Malaysia is the first one, and so far the only one. No one has actually come through any other fatwa. So there's a different view also in the Middle East. Whether we are too I don't know, too facilitative or whatever. But then again, but there is a qualifier that only those listed on the digital assets exchange approved by the Sharia Advisory Council of the SC, then it is deemed as Sharia compliant. Then again, those digital assets which is actually listed then would also need to be filtered through by the SAC for any new instruments which is being listed. Okay? Now, when I see the trend, I think Ajay has pointed out pointedly that the social aspects of it, definitely. I mean, yes, Suku is one of the instruments, which have been promoted, aggressively throughout. But at the end, we need to ensure that all these instruments, it's not only residing on a niche market, but it goes back into mainstream, right? And connecting back to the real economy. Because the question is, you are issuing instruments, it's not just for the sake of just issuing instruments. How does actually it connect back to the real economy and also ensure you are developing a just society back to the Ummah, right? How does it connect back? How do you actually provide these funding needs to some of the companies? Okay, that's where the connecting point is back again. And doing that, so yes, it's good. We have all these instruments being issued, Suku for funding mechanism. But the other aspects I see the trend going towards is, besides social, is to ensure there is financial inclusion for some of these companies and also back to society. Now, when you see that trend, then how does it make it easier? Then you see technology being used. My two gentlemen have mentioned. So the question is, how do we make use of new technologies like fintech, or here we have blockchain technology, or going into AI. So any product instruments, there's always a double-edged sword. People say that okay, crypto, is it just meant for speculation, or is it meant for purely speculative? It's haram. So the question is, what do you use for for such instruments? So you see that trend going, but you're not using, it's not so much the instrument, but using the technology of blockchain. The underlying technology is the DLT, distributed ledger technology, which is blockchain. So using that on how do we actually create such instruments which reaches out to the masses. Okay, a case in point, you have blockchain Suku being introduced, which is actually in smaller pieces, right? And this is being done, I'm not too sure whether in Malaysia, but Indonesia, you have a company, Blossom Finance, which actually introduces blockchain Suku for SMEs, for example. So it comes back to, you need to create that funding needs for some of these SMEs, which is actually the base of the economy. So connecting back to the real economy. I mean, we do have the corporate players, because I mean, at any point of the growth cycle of the company, you have different types of instruments being used and an option, be it from banking side, venture capital. But then how do we go about to provide these needs back to, for example, SME? I give you an example. Malaysia started out in actually developing the SME base at one point in time. Okay? That's why you have the second board for them, the funding and all that. Now, on the Middle East, I'll touch base more on Oman side. There is the need to diversify away, or especially from the oil and gas sector, because 70% of the GDP of most of the countries there in the Middle East relies on oil and gas. So there's a lot of diversification program which is actually being done in the Middle East, especially in Oman. You're looking at diversification, towards normal manufacturing, tourism, logistics. This is part of, for example, under Oman Vision 2040. So you see that, and there's also a difference in demographics, and that's why they need some of this funding needs. So I see that trend, financial inclusion, which is a key component of Islamic finance, using technology to enable, as an enabler, and hence the reason why we are pushing also towards digital assets, for example, in the Middle East. There's not many which is actually pushing towards this. You have Bahrain, then you have the UAE, you have Qatar, but only there is some very limited scope to it. And then Oman is pushing towards digital assets. Why are we issuing digital assets? I mean, going towards digital assets, it's not only for trading investment purposes, but it's also as a form where companies can actually use them for funding needs as an offering. I think Raja Shahrul has mentioned about tokenization. You have tokenization of, for example, a real estate company, so they can tokenize real estates, right? And it can be bits and pieces. And then also tokenization of suku through a smaller pieces, so that people, for investors with a bit of money, they can invest, but they're able to actually reach the masses at the same time. So those are the trends which I see, which is actually happening and being pushed forward, especially in the Middle East and also in Malaysia.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Kemal. I think one thing that I would like to take from the points of our panel today is actually the technology driven and the disruption. I could use the word disruption, or the changes that have been made to the capital market. I think not all of us here, looking at the crowd, and all of us here, including me, in Malaysia last time, I have not even have the opportunity to look at the open outcry at the Bursa Malaysia. When I started my career, it's already automated already. No more open outcry. I don't know whether some of you in the audience, you're familiar with open outcry. Is, I think, still practice is NASDAQ. They have it, but still assisted with the system. So in the capital market, especially the broking, let's focus on the broking first. Why I said that the technology has changed the way people do things and people do business. 20 years ago, we need remisers, we need brokers. But these days, people just need your phone to trade. Okay, that's one. Then not only they need people to trade, what happened is that we can see the brokers or the brokerage companies are start closing down. So it's sunsetting. I think I remember before even I left SC, I saw the news from Hong Kong about 15 or 20 years ago saying that the sunset of brokers in Hong Kong market. Brokers are closing down. They are less needed. Part more when they introduce of frequency traders using, and now we have AI. So I would like to listen from our panel. Brokers is sunsetting business. Investment banking maybe soon also, because AI will be able to take over the CF side, the cash flow generating or whatnot. So let's hear, because we have a balance of students, professionals here. What's next in the trend? I'm looking at? 20 years ago, everyone want to become investment bankers. After I finish, I would like to join Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. Some of them demise already, but some of them still around. Sorry if I mentioned some brand name, but it's a history. From the financial history, we see a lot of investment banker has gone, winding up or whatnot. I want to hear from the panel. What's next for the new generation, or even the current generation of manpower, trying to meet the trending of changes in capital market? How to meet? Because I remember when we did our masters, we still have used our chart for statistical reporting. I'm not sure Prof. Baharum is here or not. I'm not commenting on his class, but we can see that people are already calculating the bond pricing from an app. I have my click here from a trading. I'm not sure what he's using for the trading. They use the Bloomberg. You don't need the calculator, the financial calculator, whatnot. So things are changes. How should the academic change? How should the ways of study or class or faculty should also follow suit the trend? And how the workforce should meet the changing of trends in capital market? Please. Yeah.
Thank you for that question. It's a very interesting question, actually, because this is the bit about education, I think, where we have to ask ourselves, is what's the most important bit about education, which is it just about answering a question and getting the right answer and then off you go? Because nowadays, everybody can have access to an AI, a chat GPT, things like that. So therefore, intelligence can no longer be graded in that sense, right? But when you get answers so quick and so easily, you miss out the hard part, which is finding the answer in the first place. There was a point in time, I don't know, with universities, even at a degree level, you would have to go into university, look at a journal, and go through all the business. I did a business course. Go through the business journal one by one and everything. And even at the end of it, when you prepare your thesis or whatnot, you don't even know if it's correct because you've got an idea and you just want to replicate on that, right? So people say, no, you don't have to do all of that. You can just prep ChatGPT and then off you go and then that's fine. But you lose that bit, which is the analytical thinking part. You want to go into the library, where do you start from A, B, C, how do you things like that? You say, these are the fundamental things which I believe people have lost. It's true. Nobody wants to wait anymore. Everybody's coming up with a product that's going to be quicker than any other product you've ever seen, correct? Right? So if somebody comes up with an e-wallet, for example, I've got an e-wallet, that's great. And then it'd be like, well, the other person said, well, I've got an e-wallet, but if you put your money in my e-wallet, you're going to get profit every day. Oh, I'll go for that e-wallet. Then somebody else comes along and say, hey, you know what? Instead of that e-wallet to get profit, you get e-wallet profit and you can also lend money. I can also lend you money. Oh, great, I can also do that. And at the same time, if you put your money there, I can lend you money, I can give you a profit, and I give you takaful, and you get a free nasi lemak at the same time. It's crazy. Everybody is just offering something over each other, right? And then it boils back down to this all of a sudden, right? So what sets for me personally from the current generation moving forward and the previous generation is that actually what we've been doing in the financial markets, in banking, etc., it's just that life has evolved quietly. But now not only is the industry evolved, people have evolved at the same time. If you took the same person, you put them in the 90s or 80s, or do broking or stop broking and have to wait there by the phone, waiting to answer a call, you know what I mean? And then have to do the, you know, the transaction things like that. I think most of the current generation probably will not do this job at all. You know, you don't even get paid much from the commission base. If you go back in the 80s and early 90s, that's when all the money was made. The brokerage fees was much higher. And there was only a few broking companies. I believe Kenanga was also one of them, from my understanding as well. But that's how it all started, right? So when we say about sunset industries, it's not just about the industry it has gone down. It's actually people have evolved. People have found new ways now to make profit. So maybe they don't understand, for example, maybe they don't understand buying stocks. Maybe they don't understand buying suku. But what do they understand? Maybe they understand buying ETFs. Maybe they understand your touch and go digital wallet. Maybe they understand other stuff, that unit trust and things like that. Maybe it's something that they're more familiar with. So I think the fact that people have evolved, whatever product you come up with, whatever company you plan to set up, you just basically need to find the niche market, the demand part of it to grow your company. So let's say we go on this blockchain idea from before. So you've already done the blockchain. So who should you talk to? Okay, so maybe you talk to accounting firms or firms that don't want any movements in between, government entities, things like that. So you're already thinking out, you know, you're already using your thinking hat going forward, right? But at the same time, to catch a bigger market, you need to understand what the younger generation are actually thinking about. So one of the questions I posed to a bank actually not too long ago, I asked them, will banks be relevant or not in 10 years? It's a very good question. Is it relevant or not? You need to be 18 years old, right? Am I correct? 18 or 21, I think, to have an actual savings current account, something like that. But how old do you have to be to have an e-wallet? You can be 5, you can be 6. Within that e-wallet itself, for some of these platforms, these cash platforms, you can also have what you say a QR code. So your father can give you a QR code. So you're a small kid that you're going to school every day. You take the QR code, you go and buy your food at the canteen, and then it will deduct. So it means that the little kid, the little child, is not carrying hard cash anymore. So you say bye-bye to hard cash already. So you see what I mean? It's not that these things have not become unpopular all of a sudden. It's just that life has moved on and lives have changed. So now we know we're in a digital age. So unfortunately, if you come up with an idea, it seems to be that you have to gear yourself towards digitalization just so that you can meet the demand. But having said that, even the normal bits about business are still running. There's still stockbroking firms. There are not too many remisers left. So what they did was they evolved. They decided to evolve. So now instead of having stockbrokers to lessen your costs, you give it back to the consumer. Okay, consumer, now I tell you what, I'm not going to charge anything less pay, but you have to do all the work. You have to figure out what stocks to buy. You have to know when to make the timing. So already you think in your head, okay, I can't charge them high in terms of the fees, but you know what I could do? I could still have a class. I could charge them for the class. Look for what we can buy, how to use the interface, how to use the system. So you're really branching out in terms of what you want to do. Yeah. So I really feel that actually the trend is actually not so much the industry, it's actually the people. People have evolved actually. But at the same time, they've also lost that critical analytical thinking that I believe that used to exist from before. And there's that bit about it that actually worries me, because I think they should not lose that. They should get used to the idea that you have to search for 5 hours for the answer. You really need to do that, because then you're going to get a lot more, not just analytical thinking, you're also going to be very patient, but also you are going to find a new way of thinking and modernize yourself into what you're doing actually.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Kemal, any comment on the technologies and how the people should evolve, the market, whatnot?
Sorry, what's the question again?
Okay. We see that the trend of the fintech, the financial technology has changes the way we do business.
Yeah.
So when Raja Shahrul mentioned more about how the investor preference with regard to addressing the change of technology or whatnot, I think I also want to hear from the perspective of the students, because we have our students here, master student, PhDs. What's next for them in preparing themselves into the market? As I said, investment bankers used to be again a sexy job that everyone wanted to be. You want to be a CIMB, Maybanker, so whatnot. Huang, I cannot mention all brands, but yeah, let's hear from you. What's the idea and knowledge with regard to that?
Okay. Shahrul has brought some good points there. I'll just touch on some of the things. I think first of all, I do commend, and this is not just promoting INCEIF, but I do commend, for example, the program that INCEIF have, i.e., blending both, academics and linking back to understand, the industry perspective also. And again, thank you. I think it's good having such dialogues there here and getting industry perspective at the same time. Undergoing what INCEIF is, teaching, it's also good. Again, at the same time, it's always good then for you to actually, increase your network, not only locally, but globally, and perhaps some other professional bodies. So for example, INCEIF also links with I did need to mention the Chartered Institute of Islamic Finance Professionals. So that is a institutional body which actually, as part of development of professionals of Islamic finance, not only in Malaysia, but their membership is also, they have members all over the world also at the same time. Especially like, for example, ISRA, they are founding members or chartered members. If you join, you're able to qualify, especially through the Masters of Islamic Finance or IMIF, then you would be able to become a chartered member. And the founding members are actually made up, for example, the Association of Islamic Banks here, the Malaysian Takaful Association, and also MIBA, which is the Malaysian Investment Banking Association. So you increase your knowledge not only on the academic side, but also networking and actually linking up yourself with other professional bodies. That's one aspect of it. And perhaps, I guess, when it comes to AI, fintech, all these things, I believe these are certain areas which also been touched upon as part of INCEIF's syllabus. My other aspect is understanding the trends is, as I mentioned, not just focusing on the local side, but see what's happening outside globally, especially where Islamic finance prevails, in some of those other markets, especially in the Middle East. So you would see some of the trends there, and you would learn, and from there, it's good to connect, and understand, what are the challenges and the trends which is happening there. I'll give you an example. For example, when Islamic finance was introduced in Oman, they were the last country in the GCC to introduce Islamic finance in 2013. Most of the other GCC countries, 6 of them, had actually introduced Islamic finance. But it came upon the demand from the people. Again, a bit of a story behind it. 2011, there was the Arab Spring and all that happening. So then the people or the rakyat was actually wanting Islamic finance to be introduced inside the whole financial ecosystem. So then we introduced it because I came there around 2013. We introduced Islamic finance, banking, capital market, and takaful to the masses. So 2013 it rolled out. So it's been about 12 years, but alhamdulillah, it has been growing. Now, the good thing about then Oman was that although it was a late starter, just giving you an example, but you do learn what are the mistakes which is happening. And that's another area, because sometimes, yes, we may be ahead, but mistakes, you could actually create those mistakes. But then Oman learned some of these big mistakes, and there were things that it was introduced that was actually much better in some of the other markets. But perhaps it was, I mean, sometimes we don't promote too much, but there were a lot of firsts in Oman. For example, the first perpetual sukuk for takaful was actually issued there in Oman. This was actually promoted by also Trawers, which is an international legal firm. And we create that flexibility. For example, there is for the capital market in takaful, we don't have a central Sharia body yet, because we wanted to give that flexibility by the issuers, which have their respective Sharia bodies, to come up with their own fatwa, for example. So that creates that innovation and flexibility for some of them to actually develop. Again, it doesn't mean that that it's right or wrong, because it depends on different markets. As some, I mean, my colleagues have mentioned, for example, in Malaysia, Bank Islam was introduced 1983. Then the first sukuk was 1990. Then of course SC 93. Then the Sharia Advisory Committee of the SC only came into being in 1996. Bank Negara 97. So it was a much later. So like I said, there's no one shoe that fits all, but it also depends on the development of each country. And from there you can see the trends. But like I said, coming back to the earlier question, is that have the knowledge from INCEIF itself, connect back to professional bodies, looking at the trend, understanding what's happening in the industry, not only locally, but also look at it globally, the global aspects of it.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Kemal. I think a few things that I would like to pick from Brother Kemal, but before we move on to the next item or topic for discussion, i.e. the challenges and opportunities, I would like to open the floor first for the audience in this lounge. If you have any questions, maybe if we could focus on the trend first, the current market situation, anything that you would like to ask our panelists here. We have regulators from 2 regions. We have market practitioners. Any questions you want to open up first? Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Brothers, please introduce yourself and then your question.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Lawal Muhammad Akon. I am PhD student of INCEIF University. So I've been, following the trend of discussion in regard to the future of Islamic finance or future of Islamic capital markets, the challenges and as well as the opportunity that is there. We're looking at way back 2018, when we're experiencing the global financial crisis. And when the experts sit together, they could observe that the reason why we had the global financial crisis is because of the level of debts that the economy has been leveraging on. So the question is that as the world actually learns from this, from this happening, from this incident, now looking at the, Islamic capital markets, we could see that, one of the words, what I want to borrow from the moderator, where he said that one of the most sexiest products that we have that a lot of people do think about or do say is the aspect of sukuk. So looking at the sukuk itself, a lot of the times we have Mudaraba sukuk and the Jara sukuk. These are way more debt-driven, which of course, a lot of the time people walk up to you and you tell you that there's no difference between, the conventional one and Islamic, sukuk, because everything keep trending way more on debt. And regardless how we can have it, debt is still debts, regardless of whether it's Sharia compliant. So it is, at the regulators, what are they doing, or what is the prospects of the regulators in terms of, making the economy towards a debt-driven, tending the economy to debt-driven, rather than, of course, having an equity, driven Islamic capital market. So what would be the aspect or the future prospects of the regulators and the practitioners in this regard? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, brother, for the question. I think it's very difficult question, of course. That's why I'll do it. Because Yeah, if you want to hear my answer, I've answered yesterday in my forum discussion. The same question was posed to me at the African Securities Exchange Association questions. The question was posed to me quite similar. What's the difference of this sukuk? Why is it very debt-driven? Why is it still a fixed return or whatnot? So I reserve my answer. I can repeat my answer.
Shared the forum yesterday.
Okay. It seems that my speakers have taken over my role. Okay. Okay. How we started in Malaysia, if I could begin a bit lah, and then I pass to our esteemed speakers. The Malaysian debt market were started off. Correct me if I'm wrong. We have my former colleague and we have expert in the ground also in the audience. We try to replicate or complement the bond market. If you look until today, I think more than 20, 30 years of Islamic private debt securities, Islamic securities and sukuk whatnot, we still, the way of issuance first, the way of profit payment, the redemption, everything follow the conventional as yet. So technically what we are doing is actually we still just providing alternative to the Islamic, the bond market. So we have not changed it totally. So we allow the market to grow first, and then to imitate. I think the word imitate is the best word to use. We imitate the conventional instrument of bond. We allow Sharia compliant fundraising. Noted that what happened, you can see the progress. You can follow the SC annual report or whatnot. Brother Kemal can continue after that. That we can see initially it was dead. But you can see the regulators have tried so many times during my time, during Kemal time. We had promoted the musyarakah, the equity-based structure. But I think until now, I think my panel would share the same answer with me, I believe. It's not that successful. Maybe this one can be answered by our market people. Why equity instrument are not that accepted or well accepted in the market? But Brother Kemal, anything to add on with regard to...
I'll give the practitioner also.
The practitioner first. Yeah, let's listen from the market. What's the problem if we promote more equity driven than the debt, especially in the sukuk market? Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that question. Actually, it's a great question. I just got that question 2 days ago. Actually, somebody asked me the exact same question. So I don't know whether I should repeat that the answer. I should modify a bit. But if we go back a little bit, it's just actually quite interesting. Okay, I just want to let everybody know in times of crisis, right? So we had like subprime issue in global markets, and then a little bit after that, I think quite recently we had COVID. Okay. So if you go back and you have a look at how indexes have performed, not just our index as well, but as well as Dow Jones Islamic, etc. Have a look, see, and have a see, how did all Islamic stocks do? Because I think everybody missed it. It did way better compared to all conventional stocks all put together. In fact, I think roughly during COVID period, if you had invested into Sharia compliant stocks, you would have made at least 50 to 100% return. You would have doubled your money in that space of time. But of course, it's not something that we will go about and harp on about it. But why would the trend be that way? It's because in a time of crisis, people tend to go back into things that they know. But if we take a simple stock, for example, let's say we take a company that just produces electricity, for example. Everyone needs electricity. So you go back to something that's very revenue driven already. And that is the fundamental of Islamic investment when it comes to equity. That's equity stocks per se. But now to answer your question, how come we're not going to the equity funding, crowdfunding? How come we're still doing debt and all so? So I think I've got 2 answers for this actually. The first one is cultural. Again, I have to stress again. It's because when you grow up, you've really been taught very quickly that if you want to buy a house, you want to buy a car, you want to buy stuff, you're going to need to borrow it first. And you need to pay the bank back, for example. So already you've been driven to that sense that everything I need to do, I will borrow first. Then when I make the money, I'll pay everything back. And then therefore, I've already reached a certain level of my life. And then I can go on and so forth. If you were to do on an equity-based sort of structure, where you say, only if I have money, I will buy, for example, an iPhone, right? Or only if I have money, I will buy myself a house. But by the time you afford those things, you may be 80 years old. I'm not sure. So we were living in a society now that everything needs to be fast-paced, quick. When quick, you want to go to university, if you wanted to afford INCEIF fees based on how much money you have in your pocket, you may not even get to university. Then perhaps you need to go ask for a scholarship. Or if you're lucky enough to get a grant, then you get a grant. But if you get a loan to do your education, it means you got to pay it back as well. So actually, this is the bit that I want to stress out. If you go through that, then you're correct. We should be focusing more on Islamic, but we should not try to say to ourselves that, yeah, I don't want to do that just because it's not Islamic. You know, I just want to do exactly what I see here, and I want to be full on Islamic, which is not wrong. It's actually correct. The route you're taking is actually correct. It's just that in practice, that route will take a very long time. That's what I believe. Even when you think about equity crowdfunding, for example, you're able to raise certain amount of money based on what the project is here and there, here and there. But everybody knows as well that if you go and you borrow the money, even if you do it through a good sukuk structure, very asset-based, for example, it can still fast-pace the project a lot quicker. So the reason behind it is because of time, actually. It's because of time. That's why we haven't adopted the full equity structure bit.
Yeah, Kemal, please. You cannot run away anymore. It's your turn now. Yeah.
Sorry, brother. What's his name? Nawal. Okay. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of other professors who are more well versed what actually happened in 2007, which is actually which is connected back to the U.S. subprime crisis, right? Yeah, it comes back to greed, right? And it comes back to whatever is being issued is disconnected to the real economy. Right. I mean, if you look at it, what happened was, especially in the US, subprime was that they were issuing something, they were leveraging and, you know, leveraging against a leverage, right? And that's why you have all these new instruments, you know, what is it? CDOs, collateralized debt obligation, and using that then to again leverage it. So it's bad as it is because it's subprime. What does it mean by subprime? The assets were not prime. It was actually bad mortgages, you know, in the first place. But it comes back to two things: greed, and such instruments were not connected back to the real economy. So it's more of speculation and greed, right? Like I said, it's not. I mean, my view again, coming back to it, everything is a double-edged sword. It's not because the fault of the instrument itself. I mean, Suku is a good structure. That comes back to then whatever instrument, I mean, what structure you want to use, be it whether, yes, it started with Ijara, you know, the question is that perhaps, again, there's always the debate now whether it needs to be more profit sharing, you know, musyarakah and all that. And of course, we started out housing loan financing with Baina, you know, and we moved toward Mutanakis, you know, MMM, you know, Musyarakah Mutanakisa. So again, that is the trend, and then people will evolve. And I think Malaysia has taken a practical approach, you know, because at that point, probably it's daruriyah, you know, at that point in time. So that's the only instrument which is available. But the question is, we should not find fault on the product or instrument. The question is, how do we actually use it? And hence the reason why I say that whatever that we are doing, that needs to connect back to the real economy and back to the ummah, right? And how do we solve it? That's something that we need to think about. I think the other aspect of it is also, what's happening geopolitics right now. Right, everyone knows what's happening, you know, whether it's US or whatever. So then it's a question of more promoting within. So you're now promoting multilateralism, right? That's the aspects where you want to see the trend to develop further. I'm just adding a bit what I mentioned earlier, multilateralism. So for example, we had a big Malaysian delegation coming from Malaysia to Oman, and that's also to have more collaboration and development between the GCC and ASEAN, for example, because Malaysia currently heads the ASEAN chairmanship for this year until the end of this year, and it'll be handed over to Philippines. So that's where you want to promote multilateralism, because you have big markets here. You want to connect two markets, you know, not relying only, for example, the US. Yeah? So here you have ASEAN, a big economy. I think 4 trillion US GDP with 700 million population. Then you have the GCC having about 2.5 million trillion GDP with 60 million. So that's where then you see the trend, collaboration, passporting, cross-border selling, creating a bigger market. And that's where you see on how do we actually need to develop further. So not only looking inwards, but looking outwards towards the global economy, right?
Yeah, thank you, Brother Kemal. I think to add on the discussion of risk-based or risk-sharing product or whatnot, I think we have to look in from the picture of or the landscape of the investors. If you look from the sukuk market in Malaysia especially, who are the investors? The investors are mainly FIs, banks or whatnot. And all these FIs and banks, they do have their risk-weighted capital requirement. So what does RWC mean? Your investment will be based on what you've been exposed to. Is it debt? Is it capital? Being regulated, I think again, as observer still, and also as an independent consultant under INCEIF, we can query this. We have requirement of Basel II, Basel III, risk-based and whatnot. If you invest in equity, how much is the risk weighted? 300%. Am I right? 100 to 300%. Our FIs are ready to accept that. If you follow the Malaysian financial crisis, banks initially, if not mistaken, Kemal, please correct me if I'm wrong, that pre-98, banks are still allowed to hold equities. But since 98, no more equities. The Bank Negara has come up with a requirement, no more equities for bank because it's a high risk. So how we are going to accommodate the demand of fixed income securities? Again, I always use this analogy with my client and also all my entities I work with. For Islamic finance and also Islamic capital market, we are playing football in a rugby field. The conventional market is a rugby field. We are football players. So that's how difficult we are playing the market. So we have to follow their rules. We have to follow the fixed income rules. How your sukuk are being rated still on your ability to pay or your asset quality. So it's quite similar to what is the conventional bill rating. So this is the I don't think maybe I don't see any my colleagues from rating companies they could share. Would there be a different? There are, I know from RAM or whatnot, they consider this is ID, Islamic debt, this is Islamic securities based on structure. But question them again. How do they rate the ability the rating of the sukuk itself? Again, I think normally back to the question of the ability of the repayment of the quote-unquote borrowing. Okay, thank you. If there is any other question or maybe from the online, do we have any question from the online? Yes, please. Yeah. No, fine. Yeah, please. For the online audience.
Right. Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon. Rizadi, I think when you mentioned about we are playing, we are the footballers and we are playing the rugby field, I think I can feel you because I'm also practitioner. Once upon a time, I was with Brother Kemal in Securities Commission now. So if we are, and I was from MARC also, Malaysian Rating Corporation Berhad. So in fact, I have a lot of questions, but this is a very pertinent question to relate to your point. Now, if Islamic finance has to stay, that is in our blueprint financial sector issued by Bank Negara. So we can't be the footballers. We got to reverse it. So the question is, when? And to relate back, that Islamic finance has to remain relevant. So that's one. Secondly, we have INCEIF. We also all the alumni of INCEIF. But again, like we said, because this is conventional market, we just copy and paste, kena copy and paste bermaruah. So going back to a rating agency, when they assess the ability of the borrowers to pay, then it goes back to what? If Islamic finance has to stay, then that means Islamic finance has to render some quality above and all the conventional way. So we have Securities Commission. I urge SE to look into it, and I will also definitely nudge our central bank, because at the end of the day, it has always been the same issue. Kita copy conventional. Then if we copy, then why is Islamic finance has to be here and stay and remain relevant?
Yeah. Thank you. It's a very indeed difficult questions, and we are on the ground near to the central bank. We're a bit further from the Securities Commission. I hope my colleagues in the central bank is not viewing it live. Yes, there must be someone there. Of course. Yeah. Again, we have what we call the academic independency, like immunity of the parliament. So we are more academic discussion here now. Maybe Kemal, you want to say something about this?
Maybe I just to answer, just want to recap the question. So you're saying basically, why are we always deemed to be copying the commercial market and not running it on our own? And that's generally the trend. Again, very good question. It's actually a very similar question that always asked as well. Well, again, I think it boils down to not just demand from the consumers and demand from the market, things like that. So in Islamic finance, my understanding is that every time we do anything to do with Islamic, it's always an initiative. It never happens naturally. You realize that? It's always an initiative. Today, initiative could be takaful. The next day, it could be about Sharia compliant tokenization, or the next day, it could be AI Sharia compliant. You know what I mean? It's always an initiative. Let's have an initiative today. Let's do this. It's never just everybody stands up and says, you know what? You know how this thing can really work if we just don't do conventional. Habis cerita. That means finish story. That's it. I mean, I don't know if there's somebody really at Benaga right now looking at me. I'm not saying we don't want to do commercial, but because I'm looking at it for many, many years as a practitioner and things like that, if you just not do conventional anymore, it will fast pace it 100%, because everybody will do Islamic, because you offer people an alternative, right? People will always take something that is better, irregardless of whether or not it's Sharia or non-Sharia, because you have different types of people with different belief, different cultural background, different religion. You can't have something that fits everybody. And if you come in as an Islamic practitioner and I meet somebody that's not a Muslim, he or she is going to say, why are you trying to convert my ideology? You're just talking about a product. But then you have to go deep dive even further. Islamic finance is fundamentally right, both of it. It's spiritual and it's also practical. It's both of it, actually. But if you're not a Muslim, you might just see as well anything to do with Islam or Sharia is, of course, very spiritual. And therefore, that's why we are where we are at the moment. Because when people say, well, if you want to do, what's the difference between money market placement and Islamic money market placement? Is one more spiritual than the other? That might be exactly what other people might be thinking. They might not be Muslims. What's the difference between takaful and insurance? There's a huge difference. But they will just figure that, you know what, takaful is just a conversion of insurance. In fact, when I first started, it used to be called Islamic insurance, believe it or not. For the longest of time, Islamic insurance, would you like insurance or Islamic insurance? Ooh, what's the difference? Well, for insurance, if you do all of these things and something happens to you, you get payment. But if you survive, you won't get your money back. But for takaful, if you do it and you survive, guess what? You can get your money back. That's actually fundamentally the difference. Of course, people don't hear that bit. People just hear, well, how much am I going to pay on a monthly basis, things like that. Okay, before I ramble on and forget to answer the question. I think that's pretty much the reason is because when you want to start an initiative, when you want to say, you know what, we want to do Islamic finance, you can't do it 20%, you can't do it 30%, you can't do it 10%, because you've had 100% of conventional market for the longest of time. Therefore, for you to let go of it is going to be hard. So it's constant initiative. Today, our initiative is, for banks to be more Islamic banks. After this, what's it going to be? More Sharia compliant asset management companies. Tomorrow, what's it going to be? More Sharia compliant Bitcoins, or more Sharia compliant that. It's always going to be something like that. That's why I feel that if you want to do something, you need to go all the way. So somebody should have decided many, many years ago that, you know what, the whole country do Islamic. How about that? It's a better deal. It takes care of everybody. We're going to be at the forefront. We are actually going to put the country on the map for something besides tall buildings or F1 circuits. We can actually, the people, the practitioners, and all of us, we study very hard. We can be proud of it, because at least that leaves it with something, even though we're like 30 million in size, people and whatnot. But look at how many people have come to INCEIF. Look at how many people from different countries have come here. It is something, that's why it's actually that thing, because we seem to be proud about other things more than the actual thing that we should be proud. Diversity and things like that. So many non-Muslims pick up Islamic products. I bet you people didn't know that. In fact, It's easier to talk to a non-Muslim about Islamic products than a Muslim, because the Muslim automatically thinks that you're preaching to me, man. I don't want to hear you, man. I've got somebody else to preach to me. He's much better at it. But non-Muslim, they are very receptive. So that's my point. As how we are, even as an Islamic financial practitioner, I must be brave into what I want to do, because that's the only way forward. If we stay where we are and we don't do anything, we cannot. The message does not reach them. Yeah. Dia punya apa dia, the message tak sampai. We won't get our message across. We don't want to fight conventional. We don't want to fight insurance. We don't want to fight with all this. We want to tell them straightforward, once and for all, Islamic finance is actually better because it benefits people. If you feel otherwise, if you feel the interest is better, then you just want to enslave people with riba. You just want to enslave people with interest. Of course, this is not a very popular thing to say, like, because the banks, most of the banks, the conventional banks, all control most of the market, inclusive of the conventional companies. In fact, sorry, I'm definitely rambling on now. Conventional companies, when you want to get the Islamic asset license, right, you cannot stand alone. You tend to have to do a window, which means that a conventional company controls the Islamic company. How does that work? I mean,
Yeah.
for example,
conventional bank is happening in the
controlled by Islamic bank.
Also,
Can
yeah, most of the subsidiary are subsidy of a conventional
so
bank.
can we just be independent?
Yes,
You know,
right.
that would be much better. We independent the whole thing. We let the people choose, which is a better deal. And at the same time, we increase our market share very, very quickly by showcasing how the products, we are not just about all for profits. We want to give back something. The true meaning of Masjid Sharia.
Thank you. Kamal, any views on this dual system?
I let the practitioners start first because you know, at the end they are the ones who drives the industry. I mean, as a regulator and developing the market, I mean, my view, and it's always been my personal view, be it whether in Malaysia or in Oman, I think there should not be any more regulation than necessary, right? I think any authorities is just setting parameters. It's basically as coming back to whether you're playing rugby or soccer. It's just creating certain rules, then for everyone then to actually participate and let them actually play inside the football field, right?
We play Australian football.
Huh?
Australian football. It's a combination of rugby and soccer.
Okay. So to me, I'm a believer of no more regulation than necessary. Hence the reason why, for example, if you compare Malaysia, there's always been a top-down approach where the government, yes, does lead. Okay, we set the principles, the policies, you know, that needs to guide the players where we should go. Tapi then we also having those parameters in place, then we let the market players then actually do what they need to do. Similarly in Oman, well, I wouldn't say similar, because in the GCC and Oman, it was more of a bottom-up approach. There could be, or not necessarily a top-down approach where there are policies, but then you're left to fight for yourself. So then the question is where then the market players needs to, with the regulation in place, they need to actually come up with their own innovation. And the question is whether such products are actually good for the investor or the buyer, because comes back to at the end, suku is not religion. Suku is just a product or instrument. It's actually meant for anyone. I mean, you need to see in the GCC, more or less 100% or nearly 100% are Muslims, right? You see Malaysia, 60% are Muslims. So, but then the question, even in the GCC, it doesn't matter. People may still go for conventional. The question is, how attractive are the products? So we would let the market players flourish, having just the minimum requirements. And as I mentioned, as a start, for example, in developing the Islamic capital market, we may not have a centralized Sharia body. We do let the respective issuers or the Sharia bodies themselves to determine their fatwas. But the only difference in most GCC countries that they would actually follow at least one standard, which is AOF standards. Now, in Malaysia, maybe slightly different. We don't fully follow AOF. We do have our own standards. But in there, you already have most countries following AOF standards. Then you let the market flourish. Then again, how innovative or how attractive that product is. As what Rajesh has mentioned, for example, takaful. I mean, people may, a non-Muslim may buy takaful because at the end, I put in my premiums, but if there's nothing happens, I get some of the profit sharing back. So that is attractive to some non-Muslims, kan? So the question is, are you able to come up with more innovative solutions with the minimum regulations in place and not just mimic the conventional ones as what was mentioned earlier? That's actually left to the market to drive it. Yeah, we can have the guidance, but we also do need all players, be it not only market practitioners, all stakeholders, to actually be involved in driving this within the Islamic ecosystem.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Kemal. Thank you, Shahrul. I think this is a question very difficult for us to answer, whether a dual financial system, dual Islamic capital market go on or not. But I think one thing that I could pick from what Shahrul mentioned is the data that we have, at least from the conventional side, to back the regulator, central bank, or even the SE, the data that we have to govern and regulate the market or the players are more in comparison to the Islamic financial institution. This is might be one of the reasons. That's why we cannot just overnight change into everything wholesale into Islamic or whatnot. And we can see in certain market where they try to do that and it leads to a failure of the whole system. Kemal, since you pick up the mic, anything you want to add on that?
No, just to add one. Malaysia has an advantage because at the end, you're only following satu mazhab, Sunni.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Now, if you look in some of the other GCC countries, it becomes a bit more complicated. In certain markets, it's not only Sunni Shia, but for example, in Oman, there is also Ibadi. Okay, you can Google. So for example, in Oman, 60% is Ibadi, 30% is Sunni, and 10% is Shia. Then you also may have different thoughts, especially with different scholars, right? That's another area which could have another debate on that, having sometimes, then the question is coming back to standardization. That's why it's good to have the AOFI. But then there you have different scholars' views. So I come back to, for example, in Oman, there is that challenge, whereby tawaruk is not allowed. Commodity murabaha is not allowed. Then the question is, what is the substitute, right? But then again, here in Malaysia, you're also being pushed to go beyond to see what are the new innovation. Yes, so as a regulator, yeah, there may be that push. But then also we do need, like I come back to market players, all other stakeholders to actually play their part, So regulators have done their part. We are nudging them. But again, different markets, sometimes there is that challenge of having that convergence, to certain views. And that's always a challenge in that creating those new instruments. Yeah.
Thank you. I think technically by discussion, we're already in the second and third topic already, the challenges and the opportunities in the market. Good that the conversation and discussion continue flow nicely, because people always critique Malaysia way of doing Islamic capital market. To take from that, previously when we do screening, people would say that Malaysia is the most liberal stock screening. When we are about 80% of the stock listed in Bursa Malaysia, then we start introducing the financial ratio or whatnot, we can see truly the numbers growing down a bit, which means that 60% is now Sharia compliant. But again, doesn't mean that. I think this is a thing to explain, taking this platform to explain. This is something that Malaysia has done, something to commendable about what Malaysia have done. We start bit and pieces, step by step, because in certain jurisdiction and certain other countries or whatnot, when they try to start everything at one go, it seems that it doesn't start at all. I don't want to mention where. I think we can see a few countries trying to start their Islamic capital market, whatnot, trying to be pure risk, 100% pure. I think it's quite difficult. I think this is something that other countries can learn from how Malaysia has did it in terms of development. We start bit and pieces, even from the banking side. We start from BBA or whatnot, and now we're moving away towards that. I think we do have some question from the online, our viewers from our live feed streaming. This is to Mr. Kemal. Is there anything about Oman looking, Sultanate of Oman, looking into a regulation of tokenization? Any views on this? Yeah.
Yes. I did touch about it.
Yeah, please use the mic.
Yes. I did touch a bit of it earlier on. So in Oman, we are launching, coming up with the new virtual assets regulatory framework. That's a virtual assets, digital assets. Okay, is same terminology. That's being rolled out, and I think it's going to be very comprehensive. And we are competing against UAE and even Bahrain. So in that, you have tokenization, crypto assets, any issuance of offering of any other form of coin offerings tokens. So all that is actually within the new framework that is being introduced in Oman. And I think I can say that it will be very competitive as compared to some of the other regional peers that we have looked at also.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Kemal. I have one question here, so Brother Shahrul. But before that, I allow those in physical. If you have a physical present, yes, please, brother. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Musa, and I'm from Hong Kong, China. And I just started my PhD journey here in INCEIF. So just now we were talking about, mentioned about the investment from GCC country to the Asian countries, and also cross-border investment, and also some of the Malaysian experience in attracting those investments. So my question is probably more practical, being a person from Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is trying to promote ourselves as to take initiative on some of the Islamic finance involvement, especially in the Islamic capital market. So the question is, from your experience and for the interest from the GCC or from the Asian countries, if Hong Kong was trying to issue some, product like Sukuk or maybe some other equity-related products, what would be your advice on those features that we might be thinking of? So would you be able to shed some light on that?
Yes, I think this is always the questions that we receive when we talk about instrument product. Brother Kemal mentioned about differences of opinion. I also had received one question from Hong Kong. If you want to establish fund, for example, from Hong Kong, how to address the investor appetite, the Sharia compliance, the Sharia views, or whatnot? Yeah,
okay,
Shahrul,
so
please.
just let me double check on the question. I tend to do this because I tend not to answer the questions. So I want to make sure I get it right. So you're asking that if there were Sharia compliant products listed in Hong Kong, how would the demand be like? Am I right? Is that what you say?
Features, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, because I think
People become more successful.
yes. If I could give some example from the Malaysian experience, for example, last time there is we tried to promote passporting of Malaysian mutual fund to Dubai, the FSA. It was not successful. I think I think please correct me, but I believe it's not successful. Must be there are some reason behind it. People said there might be a different of features, different of Sharia opinion or whatnot. So if let's say Hong Kong want to come out with a similar product, how could a product could be addressed universally, globally, can address all type of different investor appetites and also Sharia opinion or whatnot? Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Okay, a bit complicated questions. I'm trying to think of all the features. I mean, I can speak about it from a product-based perspective, if you don't mind. Like, for example, let's say Hong Kong wants to do more mutual funds that are Sharia compliance, and what would be the features? Is that okay? So usually for current domestic investors here, there isn't really much difference in terms of why you are investing into Sharia compliant. Like, we don't really know the reason behind it. We don't know whether or not the Muslim investors are investing because they want Sharia compliant, or they're investing because it's a better product compared to everything else, or they're investing because they know that at the end of the day, they're not going to lose money, because Sharia means that the stock picking and how our selection means that we're looking at real revenue driven type of companies, things like that, right? So in that sense, it's probably more of a behavior kind of thing. But if I was to put my thinking hat on, if I was Hong Kong, I want to attract the type of investors. If I look at towards mutual funds that have done well, they're mostly very ETF based, I believe, especially in the global market. So what the demand that the global market would like, you can come up with the Sharia index that tracks, for example, maybe Dow Jones Islamic or partly parts of Hong Kong index and drive them together. Then you get the best of both worlds, because Hong Kong, of course, you got China market and things like that. They will come in, and then that will be a very good introducer to what Sharia compliant. Because I agree as well, sometimes maybe I sound a little bit too direct, but yeah, things need to be done. Sometimes it's okay to take your time and go one by one first. Or you can also add a philanthropy type of segment to the mutual fund. Like, for example, if you make a certain amount of returns during the year and you decide that you want to do 5% distribution, you can half that distribution right to the middle, and half goes back to be reinvested and the other half gets donated, for example. So there's actually many types, and that's why I'm trying to include a lot more of the socio-economic aspects from what we're learning here, actually, because it's that bit of all these things that we've learned that isn't out there, that is just been kept in here, and we talk about it again and again and again. But the minute I talk about it outside, then suddenly everybody gets interested, not just Malaysians. But when I went over to Dubai and things like that, I spoke to South Americans. They were shocked. They didn't know this existed. They didn't know there's such a thing where I can put $100 today, and that $100 will go into a fund. It will remain there and will help people forever, even long after they've gone, which is basically wakaf. So it's things like that that you introduce and you tell people. You may not see the market yet, but the more you harp on about it, the more you talk about it, I think that feature might be quite interesting. So okay, this is my answer.
Yeah, that's mutual fund. How about Suku? To be quick, I think we're already 5+. We don't want to hold people on Friday. So how about Suku? What makes which structures, which features that are more universally accepted? Yeah.
I wouldn't go into specific structures, okay, but I'll give you an example. Okay, for example, I mean, in Oman itself, because, like I said, we were the last ones sorry, when I say we, okay, I act on behalf of Oman, okay. So we were the last ones. So the question is, how do you actually create that demand, the traction, right? So one was having flexibility in the regulatory framework. Hence comes back to fine. We did want some form of standardization. You have AOF requirements, right? But then we didn't want to actually be directing what kind of structures do you want, because at the end, for example, as an issuer, for example, at the end you are selling your papers. So it's up to the market, whether it's a local market or global market, to accept it. I'll give you a case in point. Now, even within Oman, the Islamic banks may sometimes have divergent views, even for a simple structure like Ijara, right? Again, Ijara has some issues there, right? We come that under AOF also later on, but yeah. So we had that. So we didn't want to impose any additional fatwa or requirements. So we let the market flourish. We let them decide what kind of structures, because you are the one who's going to sell to the market, be it whether in Oman or to the other GCC market or whether to Asia. So then the respective issuer with their respective Sharia board will decide what kind of structure. And I guess they pick something which is more well accepted. Again, perhaps that's why the first case was Ijara. Now, because again, Musyarak could have some issues, behind it. So the question is, what is more accepted in general? We have to be a bit more facilitative, pragmatic, and basically telling them, okay, it's for you to work around within these parameters. I mean, then that's the question. Then we took off, from there on. From Ijara, then from there were when there are more acceptance, there are more awareness in the market, and so it's a comparison to Hong Kong. So more acceptance from the public, from the investors themselves. then they understand what a suku is, because initially people didn't know what a suku is. I'm sure for in Hong Kong's case, even bankers, when you issue them suku, they wanted additional collateral, okay, so they didn't understand what a suku is. So from there on, the awareness, the acceptance, the education, slowly, then you create more different structures into the market itself. But something is where we started off as such, being more facilitative, pragmatic, and actually leaving to the marketplace to decide, but with the regulatory framework in place.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Kemal. Being a Sharia advisor, I would take this opportunity to promote ISRA Consulting. To answer that, you should engage us, ISRA Consulting, because we can provide you international Sharia opinion advisory. Yeah, it's joke aside, but this is the problem, because when we try to engage Saudi market at the same time, same issue problem, because they would say to us, you are Malaysian scholars, so we don't choose you, we prefer the Sharia, the Saudi scholars. Then I think to promote a product to be universally accepted definitely will be a challenge. So how many Sharia advisors you need to appoint? You need to appoint one from Saudi, one from Oman, one from Dubai, one from Qatar, and then most of your money goes to the Sharia advisors. So this is the thing, I know this is a challenge in the market. We have yet to have a one standardized. We know we have AOFI, but at the moment, not everyone subscribe to AOFI. Even Malaysia has not 100% subscribed to AOFI. But at least we should commend AOFI initiative to come up with a standardized template of suku issuance or whatnot. But again, as Brother Kemal mentioned, it's at the mercy of the bankers and also the investors, because normally the bankers are the one who decide. That's why for Malaysian issuances, they would partner. You can see for most of Malaysian issuances, the partner between the Malaysian players and international players for the international distributions. That's create more demand and attract more investors from every part of the world. It's already near 15 minutes after 5. I would like to open last question. We have 2 questions from the online, but I think the question is very technical. You're asking about stop borrowing and lending or whatnot. That one you can check my website. You can call me after this. We can advise you. Yes, please, brother. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hassan. I'm from Pakistan doing an MSc. My question is, now that Alhamdulillah, we are moving global with Sharia products and services and all. But we don't have a restriction of who can buy, who cannot buy. So when non-Sharia compliant financial institution, or more aggressively, if I put motive-driven financial institutions, start to invest too much in those products, do you think that would they might create an influence that might weaken the Sharia principle of that product? They can influence it on its own, a big investment, or do you think we have enough safeguards to secure the Islamic principle no matter how big the investment is?
Yeah, good question, because from the buyer side, influence from the buyer side. Yeah, because previously I think this is a different question, because now the question is from the buyer side. Yeah. Previously the issuer side also been issuing. I written an article on that, because it's like when the conventional bankers are start issuing sukuk using CM. So that one is very in Malaysia you cannot do that, because the purpose is actually must be Sharia compliant. Outside Malaysia, no issue. But now the question is, now, because we know we do book building of most of our issuances, Islamic as definitely, whether now the impact of non-Islamic investors on the market, are they dictating or controlling, I'm not sure what word should I use, to our features of products. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, from investor side, from Kenanga investor.
Okay, so I'll probably just answer this question in 30 seconds, and then I can pass them by as well. Okay, well, I think you're approaching it from that view angle, because you're saying that non-Sharia is investing or non-Sharia is going to that. So how does that compromise the whole thing? Okay, I'm not really so much of a Sharia advisor, so I wouldn't want to comment too much on that. But I'll give you an example, and you can think for yourself. And this is an actual true case, because I actually talked to the person last week. She actually works at a foundation, right? And they have constant donations that come in, for example. Then one of the companies that wants to do the donation suddenly made the payment from a subsidiary that is a gambling company. So therefore, you had this point where the intention is correct, Nothing wrong with the intention. You want to donate, and they are donating very specifically to a project. I can't remember the amount. But she was saying that, oh, I mean, we can accept it, but if possible, can you not send the money from this company? Because it looks a bit of a, then my seniors will find out. And there we have it. Do you see what I mean? Then you have to start to ask yourself, okay, so what is the intention? And where's the money coming from? And when the money comes in and it commingles with all the money, does it mean all the money that we're going to use for this charitable run or this project, is that all non-Sharia? Does one donation that is bad make all donations all bad? If the biggest amount of donation comes from a company that is doing illegal activities and stuff and whatnot, I think the ethical point of view is going to come into play. So you as a practitioner, unfortunately, would have to make the call. And each and every person has a different view about it, right? When you think about it. Say you work for a company, you don't know whether it's Sharia compliant or not. It's just a normal company. You work every day and you get paid wages, right? Then suddenly one day you see the owner of the company selling something illegal behind. Does that mean that the whole time you've been working at that company, everything has been non-compliant for you? Because you just found out. So you see, there's such a thing as being too stringent about things. There is such a thing. Like you want to keep your house clean. But if you keep it so clean that nobody can come over and sit or spill anything, it means that nobody's ever going to visit you. So you had that thought as well. So I actually firmly believe that it depends on what is the intention and what is the amount, and at the end of it, what is the objective. So when it comes to investment, if it's coming to manipulate things, to do bad things like that, then you as the practitioner can make a call. It's up to you. I mean, my colleague, the one that works at the foundation, she could easily just return the check. I'm so sorry. I just feel uncomfortable with this. I'm going to return the check. And that is the call. Because I think, me personally feels that when we build in our INCEIF, I think INCEIF itself and how we learn things, they give you the weightage, they give you the responsibility to make the call. Instead of always referring, macam ni Cik Kemal, I boleh ambil ke tak check ni kan? I don't know, SC, you should tell me what to do. But the truth is that you should already know. Because Islam and Islamic finance has so much ethical values in it. So if you feel that, well, at the end of the day, maybe they don't understand. So maybe you accept the check once and you tell them, brother, I cannot accept again if you give me another check, right? But because maybe you didn't know, I might want to accept it first. And then I'm only going to buy things that are solid. I'm not going to buy food. I'm not going to buy that with the money, whatnot, which is actually what happened later on, right? So did not spend on things that is edible and things like that, but only spend on, for example, painting the orphanage, buy paint, buy tools and all to fix things. So the money was used that way. That's my understanding of what they did. They didn't reject straight away, because if you were to reject, then you don't want to basically insult the person that's donating. They might not understand, right? Because the intentions are good. So that's how I feel about things. Will it commingle? Yeah, it depends on the size as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Kemal, anything to add on that?
No, I'm just trying to understand the question, Brother Hassan. Okay, so you're saying whether a non-Sharia person buying a lot of, let's say, suku would have an influence on that suku itself? Okay, so he's an investor, right? Okay. Just adding to what my colleague has mentioned. Now, at the end comes back to my point. Suku is not a religion, right? It's a financial product, right? And you'll be surprised, any issuance of suku, be it Malaysia, who are the investors? You dissect it majority is coming from, not only from Asian, it's Europe, US, and I think most of them are, and the majority, and most of them are non-Muslims, right? So like I say, it's not so it comes back to, at the end, for any investor is, even in the Middle East, what's the returns for me? Is it an attractive product? What do I get out of it? That's simple and pure, right? Yes, certain investors would have their ESG mandate. They would have, they would have their Islamic mandates, right? But then you also have other investors, non-Muslim investors, besides ESG mandate, Islamic mandates, purely commercial reasons, right? Similarly, come back to, for example, in Oman, which when it was first introduced, again, if you see there, yes, it could be 100%, close to 100% Muslims, but quite a number of for example, the CFOs, head of treasuries, some of them are expatriates, foreigners, right? So at the end, they make a call based on the returns or the investments, which they are actually doing. So whether they can actually have an influence, I don't think so, because at the end, it's all locked to a deed trust, trust deed, of the suku itself. But in Oman, learning the mistakes, as I mentioned, from what happened in the past of Islamic finance, especially you remember there was a part where in Dubai, there was a lot of all these court cases whereby certain companies were trying to get their way out of not paying because then they took to court and saying this is non-Sharia compliant. I mean, if you know some of those cases, I don't want to talk too much, Dubai sensitive. but then they were going to court and saying that this is non-Sharia compliant anymore, so I don't want to actually pay for it, right? So it's not easy to actually change whatever is in the trust deed. So I don't think there's any influence to it. Yes, they are purely investor, but in order to circumvent that, as part of we introduced in Oman, and it's actually a first. So as part of the reporting requirements for a suku, which is actually quite normal for a fund manager whereby the investment fund needs to be reported annual basis, is Sharia compliant. Now for suku, technically, it's firstly rated by a credit rating when you issue it. And after that, yes, credit rating may come in when they want on a yearly basis, but then it's no longer under the issuer, it's not a cost. It's up to them to decide. But what we introduced in the framework is that in Oman, the Sukuk regulatory framework is that there needs to be an annual reporting by the company that is continuously Sharia compliant. So to ensure that no one can actually dispute that this suku is no longer Sharia compliant. And that's what happened in the early years, especially in Dubai. So we had introduced that. That's the first. That's something that someone was wanting to actually take it up to AOFI to look at it and whether it's going to be part of some standards also. But we had introduced, so that bypasses the fact that you cannot say that the suku is not Sharia compliant, similar like a investment fund, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good point there, because I think from Sukuk perspective, we look, and for example, we take example of the book building process. Okay, those investee company or the Sukuk issuer are trying to get money at the lower rate, while the investor is looking at the higher rate. Biggest amount at a higher rate, here is biggest amount at lower rate. So the market create the equilibrium where the Sukuk issuer will get a better rate from the market. That's why we always say that Sukuk issuer have widened investor base. That's why we welcome the non-Islamic investor into the market, because it widened and lowering technically theoretically lowering down the yield to market. I think the dealers, we have some dealers in the market, can confirm me on that. So whether they can impose their influence over, I think it's quite difficult, because is more or less the same, because the structure, the legal term that we use in the sukuk issuance is still within the debentures framework, and debentures doesn't have power, debentures holders doesn't have power or decision over the business and operation of the company in comparison to the equity holders. This is something that we can look from the sukuk structure or whatnot. But it can be a good study to see whether really non-conventional investor investing in sukuk had influenced the market in anyhow. I think we're running out of time. I think I would allow the speakers, our panel today, to give some concluding remarks. Sorry, it's already 5:20 today. Concluding remarks for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Concluding remark for today's. Anything you want to say for the last 2-3 minutes, please. Yeah.
We'll split it 2 minutes each.
Yeah, 2 minutes each. Yeah.
Let me see. Okay, so I hopefully address most of your questions and most of your issues. I think also I think INCEIF also mentioned this today. You take your masters and you become an Islamic finance practitioner. I mean, even for me, I was doing conventional markets for many years. Only in 2018, something like that. Only then did I do the switch. So I'm relatively a baby compared to Encik Kemal, who's obviously not a baby, but but it's actually it pushes you. So when I feel that job perspectively and things like that, it's all out there. It just depends on how you want to focus on your side. Like even for myself, I don't think there were many people in asset management that take masters in Islamic finance and things like that. But it was a choice that I made. And after I made that choice, it sort of led me to where I am today. So it's very funny. I'm always part of conventional companies, then they're always lending me to Islamic companies, then I go back to conventional companies, and then they're lending me again to Islamic companies. So this is the first time that I'm actually permanently at an Islamic company. Alhamdulillah, exactly. But yeah, you know, I don't know about the pay. Maybe the pay is better than conventional. I'm not so sure about that. I didn't ask. Well, okay, exactly. So sometimes when you do things, sometimes there's a hidden hand, a hidden force that pushes you actually where you want to go. So you may not know after you get your master's where you're going to go. Where you're going to be investment banker? Are you going to be regulator? Are you going to be fund manager? Are you going to be treasury personnel? Are you going to be in water concessionaire, for example, or even financial planning? The world's your oyster. And the wonderful thing about it is that people will listen to you when you talk. And it's really weird. It's really strange. Maybe they don't listen to you before, but after when they hear exactly what you've been doing and how you're seeing things, you will start to see the market in a different light. And I believe that's exactly where the trend is going to come. And I actually think where the innovation is going to come. And I actually believe that's when later on people will obviously realize that Islamic finance, inshallah, is a better product and a better conclusion for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Shahrul. Yes.
I think Raja has mentioned everything that I don't need to say anything much. But similarly, like Raja, my first background, I did actuarial science. So that gives me a bit of knowledge on the insurance takaful side. But I wanted a bit more knowledge, and hence, I came to INCEIF. I think INCEIF had a good program. At that point in time, it was called Chartered Islamic Finance Professional. It was a good master's both, and in a way, chartered qualification. But they've changed it to now MIFP, or IMIF, executive.
I actually wanted to take that one.
Correct. Oh yeah, okay, much cheaper. So, but then I think INCEIF gives you a good foundation from that. Gives you the comparisons, both academic side and also industry. But then, as I say, you should supplement on the networking side, and hence become a chartered membership, CIF. So Chartered Institute Islamic Finance Professional. You can actually just Google it, and I think there for those again those taking MIF or IMIF, you get exemptions, becoming a chartered member. Now again, that's all my advice. At the end, looking at the market itself, I guess we should be facilitative, pragmatic, but then again, not reducing our principles, at the same time. It comes back to we need whatever we're doing needs to connect back to the real economy, because at the end, whatever doing, suku, as I mentioned, is not religion, but it's a means to the end, in order to develop a more just and prosperous society. Yeah, inshallah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Shahrul. Thank you, Brother Kemal. I think let's join me to with hand of applause to thank our panel today. Thank you very much for their sharing. And thank you also for everyone being here physically and online. At least we hope all of us in front of here, we've been justice and barakah to your time, Friday afternoon away from your office, at least for a barakah, for some knowledge sharing and listening to what we can. Hope we could also have addressed what the topic has been required upon us and whatnot. Thank you again. Thank you everyone. Jazakallah khair. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I leave back to the chairperson. Thank you, Ustaz Wan.
Jazakumullah khairan kathira wa khairul jaza. Thank you very much to Mr. Rizaidy and our speakers. And Mr. Rizaidy for, I think, a very excellent moderation and for leading such a rich and informative discussion. And sometimes he was the panel as well. Yes, we can speak as well. Okay. And then, alhamdulillah, for today's session, we have audience from among students, also among alumni. And I think this session I consider as alumni platform. So I probably want to introduce one of audience here is CEO, Puan Junaida. Lady, Miss Junaidi, please. Please stand up. Okay, just to our students. So, Puan Junaida is CEO for AG Asia Group Berhad. Congratulations for the appointment. And inshallah, we hope maybe later we can link our students with our alumni. At very least to open opportunity for our students to do industry experience programs, basically internship. But we are looking forward to work together with with the industry to offer to give a good experience to our students. Inshallah, we will draw the way for that. Inshallah, for our students. Okay. And once again, a heartfelt thank you to Mr. Rizaidy and our distinguished panelists and also alumni, Mr. Kemal and Yang Mulia, Mr. Raja Shahrul Azrain, for your time and valuable sharing of experience, knowledge, and whatnot. And then to everyone, once again, we have now reached to the end of the session. Thank you for your presence, and we hope you found the discussion today both insightful and inspiring. Just please enjoy the rest of the day, and we invite all of you for a refreshment at the banquet hall. And for that, let us together end our session with tasbih kafar and surah al-asr. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.